Hello friends and welcome to the channel. My name is Ryan Abear and this is where I share my insights. And today we're talking about rude awakenings. These are these moments in your life that leave you in shock, disbelief. And why would we call them rude awakenings? What are they for? What are they doing? What is this awakening? Well, stick around. We're going to talk about the life of hard knocks. And what exactly is knocking on your door? There have been so many times in my life where I've gotten knocked down so hard that I was in a daze. I know this happened to someone who I know very well. He got caught up in hanging out with some people who were not really his friends. They ended up in a place where they shouldn't have been. Someone slipped a drug into his drink. And the next day, he found himself unclothed and had been raped. Several months later, he got sick and went to the doctor to realize he was HIV positive. There was a 2-week period where I have never seen this person more peaceful. I remember seeing him one morning eating his breakfast with no phone in front of his face, no music playing. He had this peace for about 2 weeks and went right back to sleep, right back to struggling and fighting with life. This has happened to me. I was a sound sleeper. I was sleeping hard. And the harder you are asleep, in a metaphysical sense, the ruder the awakenings tend to be. Now, you may not realize what I'm talking about when I say spiritually asleep, because you don't realize that you are asleep at a metaphysical level until you are awakened in what seems like a very intrusive way. There were 4 or 5 things that had to knock me down before I understood what was being spoken. That experience of the person I talked to you about influenced my life in profound ways. And it led to me really reflecting on my own life. Best friends dying all of a sudden, 2 of them. An eventual divorce from a cheating spouse. Humiliation and embarrassment. A pandemic that left me unable to do a job that I loved. And they all piled in on one another within a period of about 4 years. I had several knockouts. Now, some people go through these rude awakenings and it makes them sleep even harder. So it could be we're experiencing this on the planet, extreme, unaware of what we're doing with ourselves. It may get very dark before there is a collective awakening. Now, this is happening on an individual level, and it could be that you are experiencing and sensing this yourself. But when you've gone through a very difficult and tumultuous time, this is when you are to pay very close attention to what is being communicated to you. These rude awakenings are not meant to be intrusive. They are meant to show you who you are. They are meant to reveal something to you. But a lot of people fight against them. But you will learn about the L words. You will learn about leaving it alone. You will learn about letting it go. You will learn about learning how everything is teaching you. And you will ultimately learn how to surrender to the power and authority of love. I don't know why human beings have this seemingly irreconcilable sleepiness. You will know if you have been awakened in this way. The Buddha said, I am awake. How do you know you're awake? You won't be asking that question if you are awake. You'll notice, hey, my attention has been gotten. You know how when sometimes you awake a hard sleeper and they're just foggy and irritable and crabby? That's what happens to people when you try to intrusively awaken. So the creative teacher tries to gently coax the spirit to life through creative stories, through the kinds of teachings that I'm trying to do, because they can come off as abrasive. They can come off as looking like I have something that you don't have. I know something you don't know. I am a secret keeper and I'm trying to tease you. That's what, when I started diving into spiritual teaching, I felt like I was missing out on a conspiracy. That all these spiritual teachings were taunting me. That's what it's going to feel like. They're going to feel like lies. It's going to feel like you watch people like me who say, you don't need to worry about your circumstances. If you read the Sermon on the Mount, that's all you would ever need. That's true. But in order for that to feel true, you must understand awakening. It will feel like an out-and-out lie at first. And then it might feel like wishful thinking. And then it will become solid. And you realize that the only thing that really belongs to you are your actions. That the actions that you do and the effects of those actions are one and the same. You're not taking anything with you. There's no material possession to take with you wherever you're going and where you ever came from. You awaken to that truth. And you start awakening to these metaphysical truths that you are it. That you are all of it. Cause and effect are the same. So the truth is coming out in a subversive, I call it a subversive intrusion. See, the ego and the surface and the superficiality of life has crevices that love sort of seeps into gently. And it says, arise, love, and come away. It's a gentle nudging towards truth. Sometimes truth will bop you over the head. I had to go through so much suffering because truth was buried so deeply within me. I was so consumed with form. That is until I realized what form was. Form is a pattern of energy. That's it. Your old high school, I graduated high school over 30 years ago, and I went online just to kind of look at what was going on there. The faculty is all different. The student body has changed over and over and over again. The location has changed. Before I went there, the location was in a different place, but it was still the same high school. So you realize that everything's like that. A rock is a pattern of energy that has organized itself in something that looks hardened. I am a pattern of energy that has organized itself in something that looks hardened. And I have organized a hardened form of my individual self by telling stories about it. I've weaved. So the false sense of self is nothing but a narrative, a name. And all of a sudden you awaken to the storyteller. You've been told a story. You've been telling yourself stories about, and those stories and memories feel real. Until you realize and encounter reality. You get a huge dose of reality when death hits you. You get a huge dose of reality when you go through divorce, a health scare, a terminal diagnosis. A major catastrophe introduces you to who you really are. That's what's knocking on your door. Love, period. And I don't know why we've been kept from this, or at least seemingly so. Because that's the ultimate purpose of the universe, is to realize the full potential of love. Yeah, that sounds like gobbledygook to a lot of people. That sounds like, oh, another guru online telling me about love. But you will encounter it. And when you do, you will become balanced. That doesn't mean that when you awaken, you don't experience emotion. It's just that you don't get carried away. And you start encountering new levels. I don't even want to use the word happiness. It's levity. It's transcendence that gets into euphoria and bliss. I didn't know it was in me. I had to be rattled. I had to be shaken. I literally had to be brought to my knees, alone, in solitude. It's a bit like what I talked about yesterday, about wealth. Let's go back to that desert island. It's fabulous when you realize it. If you go back to that desert island and you've been dropped in the middle of a desert island, you are not going to look for a bank. You're not going to look for a job. You sure as hell will not look for a church. You're going to look to yourself. You're going to finally see the culprit, which is blameless. Yes, if the dark and the light are both alike, who are you going to blame? Well, Solomon reminds us, love is as strong as death. And ultimately, love gets to where it wants to go, even the grave. Because you won't even experience death. Death is the illusion of that equation. Love is strong as death in form. After that, there is just love. And what masquerades as the darkness, what masquerades as ignorance, is me and you. Love spelled backwards. Evolve, in a manner of speaking. Live spelled backwards. Meeting each other in the middle. In this vacuity that's balanced. Stable. Nothing solid, but trust. Trust in the environment. Trust in what you're hearing now. Trusting what you're going through. Trust in the calamity. Trust in the rude awakening. Trust in the suffering. Trust in the so-called enemy. And you will realize that the ego is nothing but a fart trapped in pantyhose. It escapes. It's nothing. It's a bunch of stories, which is basically a fart. Nothing. Your rude awakening. It sucks at first. But once you shake out of it, wake up, you will realize you simply are just being called home to a peaceful, sublime, non-reactionary, trusting, equanimous truth. And you begin to live that way and show others. So that they wonder, what you have? How can you be so calm? Why can you be so humorous? Haven't you seen the news? Well, I have seen the news. And it's not on that stupid TV. It's right here. The good news of who I am. And ultimately, who we all are learning to be. Love. I offer this message in peace. In healing. An acknowledgement that I cannot take credit for any of the words you have just heard. My name is Ryan Hebert. That is just a name. And this is where I share my insights. I don't know where they come from. If you enjoy that, if they are a great source of healing to you, please check out my blog. It's called mymorningmotivator.com. Thank you for watching.